When we look into the demands of one sector of society from another, coldly and analytically, we find that very often our instinctive assumptions are totally divergent from the factors that constitute risk to the well-being of others and, of course, our own, both as users of words and as consumers. To begin with this immediate, desperate community in Nigeria as immediate testing ground for the answer to that question, let us consider the case of the people versus Boko Haram. Boko Haram represents the ultimate fatwa of our time. It has placed a fatwa on our very raison d'etre, the mission, the justification of our cultured existence. I do not think that this claim is in contention. The next question is, does the Boko Haram fatwa remotely represent the articulated position of the majority of Muslims in this nation? My reading over the past few years is an unambiguous no. Again and again, the declaration that those words represent in Benuna's title is the very manifesto with which the nation has been inundated by Muslim intellectuals, politicians, community leaders, quite openly in their pronouncements on Boko Haram. They are not true Muslims has become the persistent mantra from north to east to west, all the way southward across the Niger. Grasping the most recent declaration to hand, the reportage on the governor of Osun State, a Muslim, only 2 days ago went thus. A visibly angry Osun State governor called on Muslims to rise against atrocities perpetrated by the fundamentalist group in the name of religion. In his own words, Agbeshola said, "We must protest seriously against the sycophants who hide under religion to perpetrate evils in our land. It must be done nationwide. We reject everything that Boko Haram represents. Our religion rejects everything these evil characters project in the name of Islam. We must not be silent because Boko Haram represents evil." Now, what does that mean? This exhortation that has been echoed by emirs, Islamic scholars, Islamic councils, apologists, and lawgivers, they have taken the lead. The least that the intimately connected people of the book, publishers, teachers, thinkers of all faiths can contribute is to exploit opportunities such as the market of ideas to spread the word in all possible forms, most especially where an opportunity is provided through the ongoing histories of those who failed to rally their mind when the encroachment on the space of ideas was still in infancy. What these voices have expressed is simply that the edicts of Boko Haram, in short, its fatwas, are worthless and dangerous. That sentence, the very words of Benuna's title, are the words that the Algerians hurled in the face of their murderous fundamentalists as they battled for over 10 years for their freedom. The lesson is we must go beyond the book cover to learn what lies within it. Are we, if we fail to do this, aware that we'll be proposing the contrary, reassuring Boko Haram that their fatwas apply to our humanity? Whose fatwa then is under reference? Then why are we gathered here? Boko Haram anathemizes books, destroys books, and destroys their institutions. But we are here in a surrounding of and celebration of books. Yes, indeed, the book fair is itself a statement of rejection, a powerful statement of the rejection of Boko Haram's fatwa. It is an implicit yet overt gesture of contempt for the delusions of grandeur of that movement and its avocation. But then, a book fair, to continue my argument, owes to itself the full complement of what renders it itself. Its mission as an agency of enlightenment cannot be compromised by the dictum, implicit or overt, of whatever makes no disguise of its contrary mission, which is to manifest itself as an enemy of enlightenment. And we must go further. We must take the battle to extremists. An army that remains in the barracks, even when assailed by enemy forces, is clearly no army at all, but a sitting duck. Now, we cannot recommend that we all sign up and join the uniformed corps, whether in the Air Force or as foot soldiers, as they make their rescue sorties into caves and swamps of the forest, not only to destroy the enemy, but now, primarily, to rescue our children who are forcibly abducted from their learning institutions to become, let's not beat it about the bush, let us face the ultimate horror that confronts us, so we all know how this affects us, to become sex slaves of any unwashed dog. To remain in denial at this moment is to betray our own offspring, our children, and to consolidate the ongoing crimes against our humanity. We passed that point decades ago. Now we must take the battle to the enemy. And this is no idle rhetoric. The battlefield stretches beyond the physical terrain. We are engaged in the battle for the mind, which is where it all begins and where it will eventually be concluded. And that battlefield is not simply one of imagination, it is one of memory and history of what we were and what we would like to return to be. That battlefield is ours. It demands a consciousness of the histories of others, what happened to others in the past, how they responded, and with what results. My dear colleagues, there may be hundreds of soldiers out in the forests of Borno, Adamawa, Yobe, but this battle is very much our own, primarily ours. And we should display as much courage as those who are dying in defense of what we value most, as writers and consumers of literature. At least, I like to believe so. To believe that nothing comes close to our fulfillment as the liberation of the mind wherever the mind is threatened with closure. This is what is at stake. At the core of this affliction, it is this that is central to the predicament of our school pupils wandering through dangerous forests at this moment through no crime that they have committed. We send them to school, we must bring them back to school. Why did this nation move out